All right. Hello and welcome, Total Riders, to Uncle Turtle Boy's late night basement podcast, I guess this is. Now I kind of like it more in there. A little bit more room to relax, a little more lighting. But this episode is always brought to you by our good friends over at Garage Doors Plus in Quincy. All right. If you have one of those old rickety garage doors, right, where you come home. Does anybody still have those? Somebody still got them, or else this guy wouldn't be in business. But you come home, you got to get out of your car, you got to unlock the garage, open it up, get back in your car, then drive the car into the garage, get back out, go over, pull it down, lock it up. Get with the times, folks. Call our friends up at Garage Doors Plus in Quincy, or find them online at gdplus.com to see some of their work. All right, you can go there and you will see what they do. They will come over that day and give you a price that is so fair, it's going to make your head explode. So be warned, it's going to be extremely fair, and you're probably going to hire him that day, and he's going to install it that day. All right, and at the end of the day, you're going to have a nice little button you're going to press. Garage door goes up, garage door goes down. Life is fixed forever, I promise. So Garage Doors Plus in Quincy, find them online, gdplus.com. It's the best way to support Turtle Boy Sports is to support our advertisers. All right, so let's get this party started, shall we? A few things on the agenda. What are people saying here? I kind of like to see what people are saying. So for those of you listening in on the podcast, we also do this live on YouTube. So if you're not subscribing to the YouTube channel, get on there. We got like 2,600 subscribers. I'd like to get more, but it is what it is. All right. So, some things I want to talk about tonight. We talked about this the other night. We talked about the state trooper story that I've been working on. I had an update with that, and you guys read a lot of the testimony that I've read. I want to hear what you guys thought about that. But basically, what we saw in that blog, right, was that this state trooper, Robert Sundberg, who is on trial, or who was just found guilty of raping his ex-girlfriend, who was also a state trooper, and said that he raped her 3 times over a period of 6 years. We found some testimony that was left out of that, right? And I don't know what you guys thought about that. If it matters, because a lot of people are saying it doesn't really matter. Basically, it's this. Rape shield laws prevent slimy defense attorneys from like going in there and trying to like destroy a woman who is a victim of rape, like a legitimate victim of rape, by slut shaming her. That's what. So you can't go in there and be like, yeah, she's a whore, Your Honor. She fucks everyone. You can't listen to a word she says. You can't do that. All right. But in this case, there's exceptions to it, right? Like, for instance, if you can provide something through this slut shaming or whatever it is that can show that the victim is not, or the complainant is not, trustworthy or credible, then it can change things. And quite frankly, a lot of that stuff does, right? We saw in there that she told the cops that she didn't know that she was being videotaped, right? But yet, on the freaking videotape, she mentions the videotape. And not only that, after she climaxes, she gets froth all over the camera and makes note of it, saying she has to clean it up. There was also in there a gangbang. Like, all this shit. Bottom line here is, like, Robert Sundberg is a moron for getting caught up in this lifestyle, right? I mean, he's obviously overly horny, right? But that's no crime. That doesn't make you a rapist. And it's kind of scary, the world that we're living in, right? That you can be found guilty without any real physical evidence, without being able to, like, present valid information at trial because it could, like, embarrass her. I'm sorry, your life is on the line. You should be allowed to embarrass the freaking complainant. I'm sorry. It sucks. Rape is the toughest kind of, crime that there is, really, because it's the only crime where the victim has to take the stand. Or else there's no case. And that's why a lot of rapes don't get prosecuted or dropped or whatever, right? Domestic violence is similar in that manner as well. But anyway, what did you guys think of this? Because a lot of people are saying, well, this doesn't prove that he's not a rapist, right? Because, like, yeah, so they fucked and they did crazy shit once in a while. But it doesn't prove that, like, those 3 times, he didn't rape her those 3 times, right? So I don't know. I guess that's a fair point. It doesn't prove that. But to me, it proves that she's lying about several things. And it affects her credibility. I could never vote guilty after hearing that shit. I don't know. What are people saying? I think the inadmissible stuff would have swayed the jury with regard to her credibility. Absolutely. And that's why it wasn't given, you know? Another judge with poor discretion. I mean, it's Deval Patrick appointed judge, etc. If she was legitimate, that would have been a reason. I'll never believe she was raped. It was revenge. Yeah, I believe that. That's what I think it was, too. Can any of this be used in appeal? That's a good question. I don't think it can, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not a lawyer. I think to have unless, like, I guess if an appeals judge rules that evidence should have been admitted, then yes, I would assume you can appeal it in that manner. Like, that's the way it's got to be. You know, he's got good lawyers, but quite frankly, he should get a chick lawyer. That's what I would do if I was him. You need a chick lawyer. You can't go into this with 3 dude lawyers. It's a bad look. All right? She's as believable as Joe Biden. Yeah. Yes, we are talking about the Slam Pig cop, Jennifer. All right. So that's that. I also want to talk about I did a blog the other day about the Worcester Superintendent, Maureen Binienda, and shit is heating up with this. So this poor lady. So this, like I said in the last podcast, right? This woman was vice principal at South High when I went to school there. It's like the most diverse school in Worcester, and she elected. She built up a good reputation for herself. I linked in that article, right? This Huffington Post link about her. Now, Huffington Post is like a far left blog or whatever it is, a website, whatever Huffington Post is considered, and in there, they like praise her like for all these left-leaning programs that she did, right? That like are designed to help children of color, poor children, because those are the kinds of kids you're working with at South High. Like her street cred with minorities and poor people is sky high. Couldn't be higher. But that's not enough for these frauds. That is not enough for these frauds. And it got kicked up a notch today. This is a real freaking article written by Billy Shaner over at Worcester Magazine. Billy Shaner is this guy who's obsessed with me personally, right, and the blog in general, for like the last 2 years. He works at Worcester Magazine, which is a free magazine in Worcester that people read while they're waiting in line to get soup at the deli. And he hates me. He thinks I'm like not real news or something. But that's, I mean, Billy probably makes like, you know, slightly above minimum wage, and he's as untalented as you get. He'll never go above Worcester Magazine because he's not really a journalist looking for answers. He's an activist, right? He's already fully on board with like Maureen Binienda's got to go. She's not good for black people. So he goes and finds stories, and this is what the media does. They find stories that fit their agenda. And here's this one. Student group calls for Worcester superintendent to go. And then just look at this picture. Like, I give a shit what any of these kids has to say about anything. Like, I care. It's a picture of 4 kids, right? Of course, you know, they're all, you know, diverse looking, etc., and that's wonderful. That's fantastic. They go to a school called Claremont, which is like in Maine South. It's a K-8 school. In this school in particular, they wanted the police officer. Notice how they all have like iPhones and stuff too. Very oppressed, these kids, very oppressed. The principal of Claremont wanted to get a police officer in the school, a resource officer. And we fought this battle years ago in Worcester, right? Cops in schools work. It's insane not to have cops in every secondary school in this country, right? Especially in the wake of, you know, school shootings. But ironically, the crew, the people that like the gun control crowd that freaks out after every school shooting, these are the same people that don't want cops in schools. What? Like they don't want, so you don't like kids getting killed, but you don't want an armed and trained police officer there to save kids from getting killed. Okay. I don't know what their solution is then. So these are the same people that don't want that, and so this school, when they want to put a cop in there, the principal wants it. You know what? That's all I need to know. If the principal wants a cop there, then you give him a cop, right? Because they're running the school. They're obviously asking for a police officer for a reason. If you go to the city council meeting there'll be 50 people there, and guess what? There's a cop. If I go out to Leitrim's on a Friday night, there's going to be a detail cop there. And there's like 100 people in the bar. That's it. Now think about 1,500 kids congregating in the same school. Kids that are coming from all over the city. There's kids that are in gangs. There's kids that are not in gangs. There's a lot of kids, right? There's kids with beef. Of course you need a cop, right? When I was at Shepherd Hill, we didn't have a cop the first few years there, and kids were running wild in Shepherd Hill, believe it or not. So we went and got a resource officer, I think like my third year there. And there was this kid, I swear to God, his real name. Matt McManaman. Matt McManaman is his name. I didn't mind Matt McManaman, but he was a little bit out of control in school. And the first year we got the resource cop, he was being crazy as usual. And he was like yelling at a teacher or something like that. And then fucking this guy, Officer Anise from the Dudley Police Department, he just took McManaman, or McFanny as they called him, and he put him in a freaking lock, pushed him against the locker, and cuffed him like that. And, the guidance counselor who was like acting like a lawyer is like, oh my God, let go, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? McFanny wasn't a problem after that. He got along well with the resource cop. They hit it off. Right, these kids just need a wake-up call sometimes when they're out of control. Because these schools, I'm telling you, Shepherd Hill was somewhat of a zoo, and that's a suburban school. The Worcester schools are zoos. And all urban schools are zoos. Like, picture Lowell High School. 3,500 freaking kids in one school. Picture Brockton High School. What, 4,200 kids go to Brockton High? How many kids go to Durfee? Like 3,000? Lawrence High School. Cambridge Ridge and Latin, Somerville High School. These are gigantic schools. Like, somehow all these cities just have one high school. Plymouth's got 2 high schools. And Plymouth's smaller than Brockton. So, picture all of these kids in one place at the same time, not having a cop there. That's just this common sense. Of course you need a cop there. So the principal asked for a cop there. And Maureen Binienda's like, yes, absolutely, because she's been in favor of this. Because guess what? Maureen Binienda has also been a principal. She understands how this game works. But, the cops are racist crowd are like, no, we need more social workers. Because when 2 gang members are fighting, the social worker will come in and be like, boys, I just watched Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer. We don't have to do this. We can all get along together. No, that's not how this works, honey. That's not how any of this works. So, that's the nexus of all this, right? And they haven't put a cop there yet. And so these kids are in Maine South. And this is ratchet-ass Sarai Rivera's district. Sarai Rivera is like the ultimate ratchet who somehow got elected to the school committee. She famously once said at a city council meeting, she's a city councilor, sorry, and she said, she goes, this vagina has produced 4 children. I'd like to see a penis do that. She actually fucking said that. Actually said, I'd like to see a penis do that. She frequently refers to a Turtle Boy as a hate blog. She's a reverend, which means she got an online degree from some freaking, Baptist freaking, or, you can just go and get an online degree to become a pastor. Anyone could do that. Brett did it a couple years ago. Brett's like a registered pastor, right? Anyone can become a pastor. It's just a way for these people to not get jobs. That way they run churches, and which basically act as social justice left-wing organizations that don't pay taxes, essentially. And this organization can get to these kids. Like Dante Comparetto's campaign, his campaign staff looked like the day shift at the Shanghai iPhone factory. Like it was all children, right? Obviously none of them are being paid. But they just brainwash these kids. And this is the fucked up part about this, is they tell these kids, look, kid, you're a victim. Racism is keeping you down. And that's what's messed up about this, is they're training kids to be victims. Why are we training kids to be victims? Why aren't we training kids to be empowered, right? To say, look at kids, you might, okay, so you're poor, right? You're growing up in the Section 8 housing. Life did not hand you the best deal, right? But you got this free public school here. You can take advantage of this. You can go to any college you want, right? Just do it. That's it. Why are we teaching kids that like racism is going to keep you down and the cops are going to keep you down? I'll tell you why. Because these left-wing politicians, they want to basically be your savior. That's the only way they can get jobs, is if that they are your savior, right? The system's against you kids, but I will save you. You just keep voting for me. And by the way, after I get elected, things will never improve for you. Like, that's every city in America is completely run by leftists, right? But they never get better, right? Like, oh, Flint, they don't have friggin' water in Flint. Well, who's running Flint? Maybe you should talk to them, right? Like, every friggin' city in America is like that. And they never gets better, yet they keep voting these people in. I don't know why. Makes no sense, but it is what it is. So, Worcester Magazine decides to interview these kids, and they got their highlighters and stuff like that. They're ready to rock. And this is a quote from them. And they're saying that they are calling for her ouster. We, as the Youth Civics Union, are demanding that the superintendent's contract should not be reinstated for initiating the harassment of students by taking them out of class to be interrogated about an after-school group that is not under her jurisdiction and making inappropriate racial assumptions towards students of color. What the hell are they talking about? First of all, my favorite word from that, demanding. I love that word. I love when these people say, we are demanding. Oh, that's so cute. You think you matter. You think you matter. Guess what, kids? No one cares what you have to say about anything. That's the truth. Bill Shaner might, right? Because if these kids were talking about like conservative stuff, you think Bill Shaner or any of them would care what they have to say or like listen to them? Of course not. It's because they're saying the shit that they like that they take them seriously, right? But nobody cares what you demand, right? You know why? Because you're not very smart. Here's what you do every day. You wake up and you jump on a bus and you sit behind a desk and someone else teaches you things. You know why you're behind that desk and not in front of the classroom? Because you don't know anything. That's why. You're there to learn things. If you knew things, then you wouldn't be in school. Now would you? You're there because you know nothing. Okay? I know these politicians and these people have told you, yes, the youth. We should listen to the youth. But they're just using you. Don't you see? The things that they stand for are so hollow and meaningless that they have to hide behind children. And that's where you come in. They're just using you. You're not actually smart. You're not enlightened. Your demands are meaningless. Nothing you say matters. Okay? And so it goes on. It's nice that you formed this Youth Civic Union that Sarai Rivera, let's be honest, formed with her husband, the other Reverend, Jose Encarnacion. So it goes on. The YCW joins a group convened by the Worcester Interfaith Council, the Worcester Coalition for Economic Equality. I swear to God, I'm going to form a group. Can we form a group, Turtle Riders? We need to form a group like that and come up with some cool buzzwords. Let me know if you can think of a cool one, like the Turtle Boy Commission for Public Equality of Commission of Missionary Equity Division of Equality. Something like that. We need something really cool like that. So that's all these people do. And calling for the school committee to not renew the superintendent's contract. Binienda crossed the boundary of power by pulling two of the students who presented into blah, 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 blah. And she keeps going on. So, we're not going to stand down and let the superintendent bully us as students. Okay? Our voices will be heard. Racism is real and is happening in the Worcester Public Schools, and it needs to be addressed, starting with the immediate removal of the superintendent. Now, this woman's been working for 40 years. She's overly qualified for this job, but a bunch of 15-year-olds say she's not, so I guess we should listen to them. Their qualifications in, school administration, of course, is nothing, but they're demanding things, so we should listen to them. And when they say racism is real, yeah, I love when people say that. You don't think racism's real? Never said that. Of course racism's real. I see racism all the time. I see it in the comment sections. And when I do see racism in our comment sections, you'll notice that I'm like the first one to call them out. Because when I see that, not in the comment section on the blog, because I don't read the comment section on the blog. If I see it on the Facebook page, I will respond to it. Mostly because I want it to be seen that, I am not afraid to roast a racist, too. I'll roast anyone, right? Racists are fair game as well. So, anyway, is that loud? My freaking heater just came on. I don't know if that's loud or whatever. This is, the Garage Podcast doesn't have these issues, does it? So, what are people saying? Let's take a little comment break here. Turtle Riders Coalition for Thought Diversity. Ooh, I like that one. We do need the Shame Equality Coalition. I like that one too, right? Oh, God. Turtle Riders, let's see. Alright, so, why is Italy shaped like a boot? GFQ, I don't know. Anyway, racism's real. Everybody knows racism's real. Nobody's doubting that. But what they're saying, what these people are saying is like, oh, look, here's their evidence that racism's existent in the Worcester Public Schools. And by the way, this is not just a Worcester thing. This is a nationwide thing. This debate is taking place in cities all across America, right? Their evidence is as follows. Number one, the teachers don't look like us. 84% of the teachers in the schools are white. 42% of the students are Latino. Therefore, it's racist. Oh, okay. Well, number one, in order to prove that, you would have to prove that people who are applying for these jobs, qualified minorities, are not being hired because of the color of their skin. That's what you would have to prove. These people believe that correlation equals causation, which of course is not true, right? You have to, if you're going to make a claim like that, you got to show proof. Do you have any evidence? But no, they just like to look at broad general data and reach conclusions based on that. They take 4 leaps without actually doing the steps in between, right? So, how could you prove that? Well, here's the fact of the matter is, right, that first of all, teaching is not that good of a job. I left teaching because I know that, right? Teaching is a thankless job, right? You work your freaking ass off. There's this myth out there that, oh, teaching's so easy. No, it's not. It's not easy at all. It's actually really hard, all right? I worked so freaking hard when I was a teacher. I never slept, right? I would get to school every day at 6 a.m. I would leave there at 5 p.m. Yeah, you get the summers off, but I worked during the summer. I came up with new lesson plans. I was always doing things. When you get home at night, you're not done yet. Then the correcting starts. Then the planning starts. It's a lot of freaking work, man. And if you've read my book, then you've read some of those emails parents sent, right? And you've also read what I dealt with at Fanning Learning Center in Worcester, right? You get demeaned all the time. You have to deal with lunatics and be nice to them. Very little teaching actually is involved in the profession of teaching, so much as it is public relations. And you get paid, okay, you're middle class, but it's definitely not worth the money. And so if you are a Latino, right, with a master's degree, which teachers are required to have, well, why would you want to be a teacher? Why? The world is your oyster. If you can speak Spanish, right, and you are a woman of color, oh, good God, do you understand how valuable you understand every company in America is looking for someone like you right now? You can make $300,000 a year, right? Working in international relations or whatever, because you can speak Spanish. So, yes, that's number one, right? Number two, here's the fact of the matter. Latinos don't go to college at the rate that white people do. It's just a fact. And if they don't have the necessary degrees, then they're not going to be able to apply for the job, are they? That's just a fact. And those that do have the necessary degrees don't want to go into education. This really isn't that hard to figure out. I was involved in hiring committees at Shepherd Hill. All we ever got, the only people that ever applied for jobs were white people. That's it. We had like 2 or 3 teachers of color at Shepherd Hill. That's it. David Becker knows this. I used to work with David Becker, the guy from the comment section, right? He'll tell you. There were no teachers of color there. They never applied. They would love to have hired someone, but they don't apply. You can't hire people who don't apply. What do you want us to say? So that's argument number one, right? Is that we don't have teachers that look like us, okay? Now, let me just say about that, too. It is racist to suggest that white kids or brown kids cannot learn from white teachers. That is racist. Now, I do get the benefit of having somebody, if you're a black kid, right, and all your teachers all along have been white, you might be more inclined to think teaching is not for me, right? Because you've never seen somebody like you up there. And that's why it's a good thing for America that Barack Obama was president of the United States. That was really important, whether or not you like this politics, right? Because it let millions of black kids know that that could be me someday too. And that's a good thing, right? Because when every president in American history has been a white male, would you blame a black kid for thinking that job is not for me? Of course not. It's nice to see people who look like you represented. However, it's racist to say that you cannot learn from white teachers because of that. And if we're going to go down that road, where else are we going to go? How about this? How about we say, well, there's not enough poor teachers. Maybe we should pay teachers $20,000 a year instead of $60,000 or $70,000 a year, because the students are coming from poor homes. And shouldn't kids look at the teachers as somebody who comes from a similar socioeconomic background as them? Isn't that the next line of thinking? I mean, it's insane. It's insane. It's just so illogical to think that way. The other thing they like to point out is suspension rates. And this is the part that blows my mind, and luckily people are rebelling against it. Well, we see Latino students and black students, and Worcester is mostly Latino. We don't have a large African-American population in Worcester. Very large Latino population, though. Latino students are suspended at twice the rate of white students. Sure, that doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound good, right? However, are we analyzing why? What is happening there? Right? Unless you can show that an individual Latino student was suspended for something that a white kid was not because he's Latino, then you don't have evidence of racism. You just have cumulative data that proves nothing. That's it. Nothing. So, what you have now, right? But they haven't brought up a single instance of a kid that shouldn't have been suspended but was suspended. They don't have one. They say, too many Latino kids being raised. So what are we going to have? Quotas now, right? So if Latinos are 42% of the population, are we going to say, well, they can only be 42% of suspensions? So once you reach that quota and a kid, gets in a fight, well, we can't suspend him, he's Latino. We've already maxed out on our Latino suspensions for the month. You got a white kid we can suspend instead? Maybe we can throw him in the fire instead. Give me a honky. Get one in here right now. Hey, Shane, come over here. I'm going to suspend your ass. We need to look good on a chart over here. Because we got Sarai Rivera and the Woke Patrol and a bunch of kids from Claremont who say, we need to suspend your cracker ass out of here. I mean, that's what they want, essentially, right? It's so delusional to think that way, that adults... I can understand kids thinking that way, because kids are stupid. But for adults, shame on you. Shame on you. So, and also think about it this way. I also noticed in the data that nobody brings this up ever. Boys are suspended at 3 times the rate as girls. 3 times the rate. I guess they must be sexist against boys too, right? Nope. The fact of the matter is that boys misbehave more than girls. It is what it is. It's just like, it's okay to say that there are actual explanations for data. And the explanation for why Latino students are getting suspended more is because, here's some facts that some might call racist, and I don't give a shit. Okay? The fact of the matter is that Latinos in Worcester come from broken homes at a rate much higher than white students do. That's just a fact. All right? And when you come from a broken home and you don't have a father figure in your life, you are much more likely to not do well in school. That's just a fact. It's just a fact. That's like the number one reason I would never get divorced. Right? Even no matter, if I was miserable with my wife, I wouldn't get divorced. Why? Because of my kids. Because the data shows you that kids that have to, kids that come from a single parent home, right? It's much harder for them. That's not to say that you can't succeed coming from a single parent home. Kids do it all the time. But on average, the odds are against you. You have something to overcome, right? And a lot of these kids are just coming from shitty homes and Vernon Hill and shit like that, and they're being raised by pajama raptors who are not teaching them morals or values or ethics or anything like that. And, you know, they're not eating well, they're not being fed. We do everything. We give these kids breakfast, we do their laundry, we do all this shit. But it's not enough. It's not enough. And nobody's ever talking about holding them responsible, ever. And this is our culture. This is our culture. And we're training these kids to think that. But here's how they thought she was racist. This is great. I love this part. They come out and said, in the meeting, both the students, others present, and Binienda herself confirmed that she made a comment about Asian students not wanting to be teachers. They don't want to be teachers, she said, because they'd rather be doctors or work in tech. Okay, so as soon as I heard that, I know that's going to be controversial. But guess what? It's true. It's absolutely true. Trust me. I was in this nerd program at South High. It's called Biomath. And they used to call us bio nerds, and it's like accelerated. Like you took AP classes your junior and senior year. The top 2 kids in the class got full scholarships to Clark. It was pretty competitive. They dropped you if you got less than an 80 average, I think, or 85 in certain subjects. And guess what? All of my classmates were either white or Asian, pretty much. We didn't have a lot of black and Latino kids in our classrooms. It was all white and Asian. Emphasis on Asian. Right? And the Asian kids were the best ones. It was what it was. Like Ravi Srinivasan, guess what? Nobody was beating Ravi Srinivasan. He was the best. And Ravi's Indian. He's a doctor now in Texas. Right? And then there's Tree Lee. Tree Lee is the guy that got me through high school. Right? Oh, you forget your homework again? You so stupid. Tree, just give me your homework and I'll copy his homework down. All right? It is what it is, and because Tree Lee comes from a home where his parents are Vietnam refugees. They literally escaped communism so that he could have a chance at life. And guess what? He's not fucking that up, right? Because they'll be fucking pissed. I didn't come over here in a fucking banana boat for you to fuck around in school and get suspended. Tree Lee is not going to dishonor his parents. It's a superior culture. There's a reason the Japanese have the highest life expectancy in the world. That they produce better stuff than us. Because their culture's all about getting shit done. It is what it is. And they don't take shit. So, yes, of course, that's a fact. Of course more Asian people want to go into becoming doctors. It's not. Stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. And of course they want to go into tech more. You don't see a lot of Asian teachers, do you? Because being a teacher's kind of a bitch job. It's really not that good of a job, right? We didn't come all the way to Vietnam so you could be a fucking high school teacher, right? We came here so you could be a freaking doctor. That's it. So the students who have no concept of reality and are just being brainwashed with social justice nonsense get mad about it. And they say, they found this to be racially insensitive. Oh, poor kids. Everyone was so shocked, the junior at Claremont and a member of the YCU said. It was just the worst. A superintendent should not be saying stuff like that. Oh, you mean like the truth? Yeah. Yeah. And Binienda stuck by her words. And she said, often, my past Asian students did not pick that as their number one choice. They picked different fields. Yeah, you know how she knows that? Because she actually worked with Asian students and people like that. It's like these people hate the truth. There's nothing they hate more than facts and reality. Right? They hate it. And so, white people go into teaching at higher rates because, like, you know, what else am I? I'm just another white person. Might as well become a teacher. Like, I was not a good student in college. My philosophy was C's and D's get degrees. That was I graduated with a 2.02 by the skin of my teeth. Got out of there barely at UMass, and the only major that I could get into was history. Because you know why? Because it was the only major that didn't have any prerequisite requirements. And I'm like, what does it matter? I just want to be a teacher anyway. Like, that's how I viewed life. Like, all my friends that I look back at it now, I'm like, man, I could have done that differently. But like my friends now, my nerd friends in college that like worked really hard, they were all in business school, right? Like my buddy Brown and my buddy B. And these guys didn't, like, I was on the weekdays, I was drinking, partying, whatever. Oh, you guys are lame, studying accounting, nerds, stuff like that. Well, guess what? They're all rich now. Like, they all live in North Reading and $800,000 homes and in Westwood and places like that. And their wives don't have to work. It's like, and so it pays off, right? I don't know where I'm going with this. But that's where I was going. Like white people like me, I hate to say it, it was like, I'll be a fucking teacher, whatever. Well, all the other doors are closed, right? So I might as well be a teacher. That's what a lot of us end up doing. So it is what it is. Not that there's anything wrong with teaching. I always wanted to be a teacher, but I realized it doesn't really matter how I do in college because they don't look at your grades anyway, right? Because not that many people want to be teachers anyway, so they're going to take you what they can get. It is what it is. So anyway, this whole thing is nonsense. There was a big protest down there tonight. It's just such utter hogwash. And it happened in Washington, too, by the way. I found some clip here of Representative Catherine Clark, right? And this is just like, so Betsy DeVos, the Secretary of Education for Trump, kind of a controversial figure because she's never taught before or anything like that. I was very apprehensive about her going in, but I don't think she's done a bad job, except last week she tried to cancel the Special Olympics. Oops. So this is what Catherine Clark, who represents Melrose and a bunch of other white people towns, probably represents 5 people of color total. I'm calling on Betsy DeVos to resign. She failed to protect our students, I think you meant to say. She revoked the policy to address racial discrimination in school discipline practices, and then cherry-picked racist research to back it up. She needs to reinstate the policy and apologize or go. She's talking about Betsy DeVos getting rid of the Obama-era guidelines that handicap schools and prevent them from suspending students of certain demographics, right? That's a good thing. So good for you, Betsy DeVos. So this conversation is going on at a nationwide level as well. And it's clear what side the Democrats are on. They're on the side of teachers are racist for suspending kids, right? So that's why I'm voting for Trump again. Reason $5 billion, and I'm voting for Trump in 2020. Let's go to the questions. Let's see what people are saying there. Any comments you guys have? Oh, is Laura with us tonight? It's like 2 in the morning there, 4 in the morning there. All right, yeah. Laura works in education. I know that she works with special education kids, I believe. I'm sure she could have a lot to offer on this topic. So Lisa says, so this is interesting because Lisa's from Southbridge. So she says, for now we live in Southbridge and my kids' teachers are saints and the most caring people, I swear. So Southbridge, for those of you unfamiliar, is a worse school district than Worcester. Not that you can't learn. And when I say worse school district, I don't mean the teachers are bad. I mean the kids are bad, right? And not even going to say about the demographics of Southbridge, but you can imagine, right? And you can get an education in these schools. Anyone can. Just the bad kids don't. It is what it is. And so I would not send my kids to the Southbridge Public Schools. I wouldn't live in Southbridge simply because of that. But good for you for doing that. Because your kid can learn anywhere. Personally, I don't want my kids going to school where they're going to have their classes disrupted all the time. Like at South High School, we had no walls at South High, by the way, because it was built in the 70s during this like hippie era. They're like, oh, no walls, man, free learning, dude. Yeah, totally. Pass the pipe. Well, when I was in my nerd classes, it wasn't that big of an issue. But if like you were right next door to a problematic class, or you had to go to health class and mix in with the other kids, that's when it got interesting. And there was this kid, Juan Rivera. Oh, good Lord. Juan Rivera was nothing but trouble. And he would be like, yo, miss, watching me dance, yo, miss. And he'd be like, Juan, please have a seat. Yo, miss, yo, why you racist, miss? Why you being racist, yo? And the whole class, cracking up. It would just lose control. Like the class next door to me one time, a kid was out of control, and Rigo Alfonso taped him up with tape. And it was a big scene, right? Like this happened at South High all the time. And it took away from my learning, right? Not that I cared at the time because I was a kid, but my point being is that when you're in a school with lots of distractions, it's harder to learn, isn't it? It's harder to learn. So what else are people saying? All right. Same demographic as Worcester. My kids do great. It's definitely the parents. I see it all the time. Okay, so you've gotten out of there, yeah. I mean, the thing about Southbridge is it's next to good towns. It's next to Charlton. It's next to Dudley. It's next to Sturbridge. I think it's next to like Holland and Wales and shit. But yeah. Anyway, let me tell you. So Ratchet Madness is finally going on. I apologize for a delay in this. We had the Sweet 16 voting. And actually, let's go see how it is, shall we? I'm going to see it because this was really close before. I'm going to let you guys see, since you're watching right now, where the voting's at, because I'm about to end. I'm about to tally this up and see who advances. We're going to start the real next round next week on Monday. I'm going to do it right. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So let's see. The first matchup. Who is going to be advancing here? Oh, it's going to be Candy Dennis. Is up 55 to 45 over the Peroxide Pound Cake. I forget who Candy has now. I think she got Maud next. So that's a tough one on her part. Next up. Only one of these was like wicked close. Last I checked. I think it's this one. Let's see this one. Meg Baton looks like she's going to advance. 240 to 233 over Dante. This was at like 1 vote difference like an hour ago. So Meg Baton looks like she's going to advance there. In the next matchup, we got, and these are pretty close. I think none of them are over 60 to 40. Like all of them are in the 50-40 range. Let's see who advances in this one. We got Toast Malone at 57% over the Wigtacular West Warwick Maggots. So he will be advancing. And the final one, what do we got? It is the Tonsil Ticklers are going to advance over the Charleston Parade Hardos. So those will be your advancing teams. And so it looks like it's going to be Toast Malone against Greg Bates. Michael Cadena, however you pronounce it, against the Tonsil Ticklers. Gaffney against Meg Baton. And Maud the Fraud against Candy Dennis. So those will be our first round matchups starting on Monday. All right. So, any other questions you guys have you want to ask before we call it a night? Yeah, a lot of hard decisions. You got that right, Alyssa. You're absolutely right about that. I don't know. I think Candy, when I was making that up and like listing all of Candy Dennis's accomplishments, I'm like, man, she really should have been higher than the 16 seed. She is ratchet. She was ratchet over a long period of time. I really wanted to vote for Dante, but how can you not vote for... I like how much thought you guys are putting into this, too. I love it. Right? Charlie Kelly messaged me today, and he's like, dude, I was like really thinking about it. Like, I spent a good amount of time today contemplating. I'm like, Hurricane Beefaroni, I'm on the front. It's a tough one, right? I really have to think about it. Well, I have no way of knowing. Who's Sergeant Scissor? I don't even know what that is. Can Brett do weddings? Probably. Any more from the Squadron Trooper? Yeah. I'm waiting. I heard back from the Acton Police Department yesterday. Gonna be getting that police report next week sometime, hopefully. That's gonna be the next blog, right? Looking at the arrest report from her DUI. That's what I really want to see. Oh, Trooper Scissor. Yeah, the bagel bumper. Yeah. She'll be up soon. That's hopefully coming next week. It is tough. You got that right. Yeah, I don't know who I think. Like, when I look at this bracket, I'm like, I don't want to... We'll all have our own feelings, but who I think should advance and who I think will advance is always different. Something always surprises me about who ends up advancing. Man. Who do I think will come out of this bracket? I think, just going through it real quick... I mean, the MBTA ass eater, that was pretty ratchet. She could come out of that. She really could. I think the Medford meth maggots are the most ratchet in that bracket, though. We'll see. Up here, this one. Can anyone beat Greg Bates? Franklin Baxley's in this one. That's an interesting one. Juicy Jaisal, Mama Thunder. Oh, Hurricane. I think Hurricane Beefaroni is going to win this bracket, man. People forget how ratchet that broad is. Over here, Vanilla Lice is here. Cadena, Ryan Waters, Pastor Pole Polisher. I like Felicio Fernandez to be the upset 6-seed winner over here. And then the Trap Queen region. Malden Meth Puppets are in here. Slumdog Chillionaire Mom, that's an underrated one. Gaffney. Ultimately, Eddie Porkchop. I like the New Bedford Bukkake Pound Cake. She's one of my favorite ratchets of all time. I think she's going to win. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. Anyway. Mark Prince is pretty bad, but he's only a 13 seed, so we will see, folks. We will see. Yeah. All right, so why don't we call it a night there, and we will see you all on. Oh, by the way, live is going to have to be Sunday night this week because Final Four is on. I'm not missing these games. I'm really excited about the games this weekend. Really excited about these games. So we will see you all on Sunday night. All right, peace, Total Riders.